Hey everybody, it's Nathan Young. I'm back with the Home Service Leaders podcast. I'm here with Alex. Alex, you've been here before. Welcome back.
Happy to be here.
Remind us again, who is Alex and what does he do?
I work for a few different companies. Fluid Services, which is a marketing and operational and software as a service company for field service companies specifically. Really, appliance repair is our main bread and butter, but we will help folks in HVAC, plumbing, etc. But my real background comes in the appliance repair industry, specifically with Fred's Appliance, where I run the company with Adam Butcher, who is the primary owner of Fred's Service. And we also have our own academy called Fred's Appliance Academy, where we train technicians from all across the country to learn appliance repair. And that's me in a nutshell.
I feel like you've said that once or twice before.
Just a few times, just a few.
So, like the last time we talked, you actually talked to Austin. But the last time that you were on the podcast, first of all, we were called the More Leads Online podcast. We've since rebranded to the Home Service Leaders podcast, which I'm super excited about because that's what you are. You're a leader in the home services. And we're hearing from you. And that's what the most important thing is, right? And so, what's been going on since we last spoke? Pause. Theme sort of is like, tell me the reality is it's been a shit year. So, like, unpack that for me a little bit for you guys. How have things shifted for you?
Oh, well, since when COVID hit, the big panic was PPE, procedures. How do we handle this? Is it safe for the techs to get in the home? Once that stuff kind of settled a little bit, the next major concern was the office staff and working remote. And where we had areas with some companies that had to shut down for 2 weeks because they were all gathering in one location, one person gets COVID, the protocol is you got to shut everything down. And that's happened for a few different companies. So that we've been fortunate at Fred's. We've been remote since 2019, the beginning of it, 100%. The techs have been remote since 2010. So they've been running from home since the last decade. So we were just trying to help scramble. We created a guide on our website to kind of try and spell out common areas that they need to look at and where to address it. Adam took the time to spell out a procedure list on what you should do in the home, like what, booties, take a garbage bag, put it all in the garbage bag. So this was all back when we were afraid of our groceries and stuff like that too. So, we weren't sure if it was airborne or touch or where the primary concern was. So that was the scramble. The business side of it, once the stimulus checks rolled out, it turned into a shit show. I mean, it was just whether you were selling the appliances, you couldn't keep up with it, and you still can't. Black Friday, one dealer, Yale Appliance, I highly recommend them from a content standpoint. They post a ton of content where they'll share their sales numbers and what's trending. So they were sharing stuff like it was a 3 to 6 month wait if you were buying a new appliance that week. So hopefully you weren't moving into the house next month because you're not going to have the fridge. Sorry. So yeah, we had those concerns on the sales side and the repair side, and we're still dealing with them today as repair supply chain issues. Where you just can't get the part. So this is one area where appliance repair really is different than everybody else. Plumbing, there's a ton of like SKUs, but when it comes to appliances, we destroy it. It's like grains of sand on a beach when it comes to all the different types of part numbers that exist. And it's not a matter of just having one part number. You could have a board. It was made in China. Well, China, the boats won't ship out, COVID, whatever. Now it's got to be made in Malaysia. Oh, nope, can't make it there anymore. Now it's got to be made in Taiwan. All three of those have different part numbers. All of them might have different series and how they're made, and then they're shipped to us. They're coming in the wrong box. They're not coming at all. The tracking information is sometimes not accurate. And meanwhile, you're the customer in all this, trying to understand from our perspective that I can't make the part show up, but I understand why you're mad at me because we're not able to fix it.
Well, right. And my experience as a customer, what I have gotten accustomed to is that I say, fix it, and you say, we did. And that's the end of my responsibility as a customer. And so now it's 3 months later, and you're trying to explain what you just did to me, which is that your supply chain is disrupted in this hilariously impossible way. And as a customer, I'm like, why is this my problem? Right?
And it's not their problem. Customers shouldn't have to go through with all that. But at least it does seem like the customer awareness is being realistic now, because it's not just us. You go out and buy furniture, you go buy a bicycle, anything where you were staying at home.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's sold out. It took me a while to get a webcam. I think it was a 2-month back order. That's why I was talking to you last time on a laptop.
in April. So Samantha and I, our story is ridiculous for the year 2020, but effectively I was supposed to move to Minnesota. My family and I were supposed to move to Minnesota, not just me, but we were supposed to move to Minnesota in February. And like right in February, so we're like looking at houses in February, and we were supposed to be at an office there. And I was going to take a part-time position basically as an operations officer to help a guy like rebuild a business. That's just, part of what I like to do. And so I'm running this company, and I was like, sure, I'll take on helping you rebuild some other company, because why wouldn't I do that? And but our company obviously is completely distributed. We've been digital since day one. And I have a fantastic team, and we have super clean processes, and it's sales we struggle with, not systems. like, so I'm looking at this, and I'm talking to Samantha, and we're in the very beginning of February, and I'm looking at her, and I'm going, I think maybe we should take this more seriously than we're being told to right now. So we were the grocery rushes and all of that stuff that happened. We did the same thing, but we were 2 weeks before. So we were like, it's so many weird looks, and our friends were like, what is the deal and whatever. So we're like 2-3 weeks before that. But the thing about that was, I remember having that conversation with her and saying, you know what? If things start to look like they might get a little dicey, like, sure, let's buy some groceries out a few weeks ahead or whatever. I'm going to go buy a chest freezer. No, you're not. And like the first week of March, I go to look for a chest freezer. I call every appliance store near me. I start with little guys, I go all the way up to box stores, and they're like, we don't know. It's not like this might take a month, 2 months, 3 months wait time. They're like, we don't know when we'll get another chest freezer in stock. It may not be this year. We're at that point. And I was like, oh, so like everything you're saying rings like true in my literal experience, where we were like trying to get this stuff. And I was like, I think that's what set off all the alarms in my head, as like, oh, this is really real, because I was trying to order these products, just appliances, and I knew how the distribution channels worked, because my family runs a retail appliance sales store. Exactly. So I'm calling Almo distributors or whatever, and I'm going, I buy my appliances from the same place Lowe's does, and for wholesale. And so I'm calling them directly now. And they're like, no, it's the last one I went out of the warehouse a week ago. And like our guys in China, whatever, are like, there aren't any more coming.
Yeah, a lot of freezers don't get made here. That's what really screwed that whole thing. There's a few, the upright stuff, the bigger ones, but like
Right.
all the small chest ones, they'll distinctly look different regardless of the name that's on it. And yeah, we should be making more stuff here. But then again, if we made that $200 chest freezer here, it's not going to cost $200. So that's the paradigm. But obviously they'd sell right now, but as they got to sell in 2021, 2022, that's why these manufacturers don't know what to do at this point. And I don't think any of them really know what to do, because it's hard to predict the buying patterns that you're going to see this year. There was countless examples that I would see online of factory lines that have all this stuff all around the line. Nothing's being made because they're missing one thing. And they have to just sit there because they're like, well, you can't use this line for something else that requires a whole retrofitting what it needs to do. And so it's just going to sit here for weeks. And some of those would be parts that could help us fix stuff out in the field, but they'd have to unpack them, repack them, retag them. Who's doing that? We don't have enough labor probably to fix all the problems as it is. So yeah, I don't think that problem's going to get sorted, hopefully, probably for at least another year, because all the manufacturers, and one of the negatives in our industry is all these damn SKUs with parts. Well, that compounds it is they want to make a new product every year, even if it's not really new, but it's new to the parts distributors and those different mechanics. So they have to come up with new numbers and new things to stock, and then that continues to perpetuate. I'm hopeful that COVID will make them stop doing that shit, and they'll just stop creating so many damn SKUs. Could you imagine if the iPhone had like 2,000 different SKUs? Like it's.
Oh my gosh, I get mad when there are 5. Like,
and when you come into an appliance store and you see a washing machine and they look at the other brand washing machine, you open the tub and you're like, these look exactly the same inside, but they are.
yeah.
What a great buying experience. Oh man, I trust these brands so implicitly because of these games they play with us as consumers. And you can just Google it and you'll figure out what brand owns who. It's not like it's top secret info. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Go up 1 or 2 levels in the chain and you're like, oh, you guys are it's this one company who makes all of it. You just slap different labels on it. Fun fact for anyone who doesn't know, the label tag for the appliance gets, when we were, so again, like my parents own a furniture and appliance retail store. When we swapped, we used to sell exclusively used appliances. We swapped over to new appliances because new appliances have gotten so cheap. And so we were carrying Frigidaire and Maytag, but all the subsidiary brands. So like Hotpoint is just Frigidaire, but right. Well, and that's what I'm getting at. So we would order, some of these are supposed to be Frigidaire. Some of these are supposed to be Hotpoint. Some of these are supposed to be, I'm thinking of a different one that's not Hotpoint.
Tappan, Calvinator, Gibson. That's what Frigidaire owns. Whatever. I know what you're saying. Yeah. You try and get that cheaper one, but go on.
But we would get all the appliances, and then they would also hand us a bag of labels, like the little things so we're the guys in the retail store who are sticking the Frigidaire like emblem on your thing. And if we screw that up and put the Hotpoint one on, like you'll never know. Like there's no difference. Like maybe slightly, but
it's just such a disingenuous thing to do with customers. I think at this stage, we're in the internet era. We have to start looking at it going, they're smart enough to just take the model number and go home and look it up. And we see this with parts. It's the same. Best Buy dealt with it with Amazon when it came out in the market. We have that problem with replacement parts. You can go, if I quote you for something, Amazon's very likely to have it cheaper. So it's just being aware of that and then working around that.
So as you're training these guys, guys in the industry, both business owners and also journeymen, right? Because you're doing both. You're helping both. I was recently talking to Derek Clarkin. He is the president of a general contracting company in Minnesota. We talked a lot about how COVID has affected his teams. He said something very similar to you in that they had one. So they do large commercial construction and some residential renovations and things like that. But he was like, oh, we had one building where an entire floor, like we were building a floor, we had like 50,000 square feet and all of it was stuck because we couldn't get the overhead lights. So the entire project ground to this halt. They have materials everywhere. And he's like, you can't get these light installation fixtures. It's impossible, but you have to get that because, in XYZ, it's Y.
You can't finish the job. You can't. Yeah.
And so as we're seeing that, what he basically said is, again and again and again, he just stressed the importance of being flexible, being able to adjust. How are you guys? So we know there's a problem. The world is destabilized like shit. How are you telling techs and telling business owners, we know there's a problem? How are you helping them adjust to that?
Take a deep breath. Things aren't going to go well, and start trying to figure out how you can control stuff. So you can't make the parts show up quicker. Mm-hmm. So are you notifying your customers that the part's on order? Are you rescheduling customers aggressively? So in other words, we typically, pre-COVID days, we could go into a house, we diagnose you needed something we didn't have, we would reschedule you in the home. We took the time to make sure you're in our slot in a future position. That is still very rare. We've been doing that for a decade and we've been preaching it for a decade. It's still very rare that people are doing that. The burden is on us as the owners and the appliance repair company to execute. Well, I don't want to do that. What if something goes wrong? What if it is? It's like, that's great. So that's why you're getting negative feedback, because the customer has no freaking clue of these challenges. You have to educate. And so then they go, another valid, a reasonable excuse would be, well, you pick up the phone. Nobody wants to have to answer the call to hear these. 100% agree. We don't pick up the phone either. And then that's where their heads explode. What do you mean? We text them.
Yeah, we text them.
Text them. We just shoot a quick text like, yo, hey, this is still on back order. We had you scheduled for this date. We're going to push you a week back. Is that cool? Do you just want us to take it off the schedule and say go away until this part comes in? That's it. All done by text. Everyone leaves us alone. That's it. And now our team is nowhere near as burdened. They're not overwhelmed with the constant picking up the phone and doing that scenario every time where you have that conflict, because you got to have conflict because you're not giving the customer what they want. So if we can like at least parse that off, the really angry customers will pick up the phone and have a conversation. We can go from there, and then we have the energy to help those people, or at least take the time to break down what's going on. And anytime I would talk to a customer, I would take the time to explain to them how this is working. China's doing this. We get the product from here. We bring it over here. It's a little overwhelming for a customer, but it's like, hey, you asked. Here's the answer.
Right. One of the, again, I just mentioned Derek, but it's the most recent show that I did. So like, it's very much in my head right now. But also it kind of chimes to just how not different a lot of, like, yeah, sure, we're technically in the home services when I would consider this a trade. And he's in general contracting, they're building buildings, but we have the same issues, which is people. People are people, right? So whether they're in Minnesota or whether they're in Utah or whatever, no matter who wants to argue that, people are people and they want effectively the same stuff. And he basically just kept saying again and again, it was really, I would say it was impressive how consistent that he was sticking to this and how he had rolled this out throughout his company. He was like, we have to be agile and we have to be honest and transparent. He's like, gone is the day where your customer will say, hey, aren't we supposed to have that thing? Or won't that thing be ready like by whatever day? And in your head, you're like, I haven't even started on that. Sure, I'm just going to scramble and, you know, like I'm going to pull a Hail Mary and scramble and have that thing done in 2 days. You can't. There is no such thing as pulling a scramble and getting it done. Like you can't. You're stuck because that boat didn't leave Malaysia. Like, so either you bite the bullet and you get really honest and really transparent right away with your customer. Hey, how long will this take? I'm going to be really transparent with you. We have no idea. It honestly could be anywhere from 2 weeks, which is where we would love to schedule you. That's what we're hoping. Transparently, we might not get that part for another 4 months. And so how do we make a decision from there? And like, you will either keep a customer or lose them in this moment because of that transparency and honesty. If you don't do that, you're winning and losing based on that one willingness right now. And I'm saying that, and you're saying yes, no.
I agree with you. So the other thing too is we're going even a step further, and we used to have our 800 number, and you would have to do touchstone stuff. Mm-hmm. It's all gone. You immediately talk to a human.
Wow.
It sucks at first, you know, because sadly we are way easier to get in touch with than any other part of this entire repair supply chain.
Really?
So our team gets to deal with the, you know, I'm on the hole with this manufacturer. I was on the hole with this insurance company for the last 3 hours. Yeah, you got to call them again. They're the ones that authorize the repair. So we're more accessible, but that's another area where it's like, why is these companies struggling? It's like, well, can I get a human on the phone when I dial the number, or are you going to make me do homework as the customer? Mm-hmm. I have to figure out which zip code to enter because I own apartment complexes. I don't know which freaking one you want. Oh, it doesn't hear me. The automated message now wants me to do it again. All that stuff's got to go away. Not just for us, but big companies should be doing the same thing too. But you know, one thing at a time. But all small businesses should dump all that stuff. We used to do it because we thought we were doing something that helped the customer, but ultimately all we're doing is trying to make it easier for us. Well, if I route him to the parts guy doesn't have that moment where he's talking to a customer. God forbid the parts guy talks to a customer. Like that's the whole freaking point we're here. And sometimes if they talk to you, you could save the job, you know?
Yes.
And it's just a matter of freeing up their time and being more efficient. So yeah,
Right.
it's little stuff like it's a bunch of little things, and that's what drives people nuts. Is they're hoping that when we talk to them that we have some awesome Fred's solution that I just open a box and it's ready to rock. And it's like, no, it's all little stuff in your procedures and how you're interacting with your customers. Are you thinking ahead? You have to always have the answer ready before they even ask it. But you
Oh
have to
my
ask
gosh.
those questions internally. If you're not asking those questions internally, none of this gets done. And then we're talking about the same shit year after year. And it's like, yeah, this is why nothing's changing.
Well, I mean, like you just said something that's a truism of business overall, though, right? Like people, I still constantly I talk to people about their business ideas, why their business was successful, what failed about it, blah blah blah. And I mean, you can start a business by like choosing any of the things that you need in a business and just closing your eyes and throwing a dart at a board and be like, that's the thing I'll do first. Um, but if you want to grow, right? Because there's a difference. If you want to be an artisan, if you want to like ply your trade, but you don't want to run a company, if you want to just be that like skilled individual specialist, whatever, that has that small group, that tiny tribe of hyper loyal customers, great. You don't have to do any of the shit that we're talking about. But you are, because you have this, you basically have this personal relationship with them. So there's just so much grace built in. If you actually want to grow, if you want to work with people that you've never met before, and you're not doing the stuff that we're talking about right now, the stuff you're telling me about, you're gonna hit the ceiling. Like, and it's not the next automation that's the thing that gets you there. Because you're literally telling me take some of that crap out of your business.
In some cases, yeah, it just depends. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Our business as well is not a want. You know, there is some field services where there's a want. You know, you're doing landscaping, people want a nicer yard. You
Yeah.
know, and they'll pay extra because it's going to look nice and make them feel better. No one feels great when their fridge breaks because I'm not going to make it any better than what it was. It's a maintenance only scenario. So because of that, we're always dealing with hostility. So what can we improve? Well, we can make this as painless as possible. I have a dentist. This guy is awesome. I haven't gone since COVID, but man, when I went there before, he's like, he pulls the gas right out. He's like, how much you want? Because he's just right out of the gate. Like, how's the chair? Chair's nice and comfy. Let's get you drugged up. Like, that's his first priority, you know, and it's not like a bad thing because he's like, you know, he's not pushing it on you. He's just, I want you to relax. I want you to just be a big smile. I have to say that was the best dentist appointment I've ever had because he was worried about me. He wasn't worried about make sure you follow our procedures. Oh, you didn't bring the right form. Get back in the waiting thing. Get another form. Yep. No. Okay. You know, and that's why I'm going to that dentist over somebody else. I don't want to go to the dentist. I never want to go to the dentist. So the fact that they're thinking about me and making it as easy as it possible for me, I'll come back. And that's really, in a nutshell, why Amazon is trillions of dollars because they thought about me.
Oh, I mean, like when I ask my local anything, I want this thing. You have it in store. When can I have it? And they're like, we can get it to you in 5 days. And I'm like, why would I? Like, aside from just my personal loyalty to this concept of buying locally, why would I do that? It's not the best for me. And on some level, I understand that there needs to be a break at some point, right? Like we have to be people and be like, I do want to support the guy down the street, and I do. It plays in. Well, oh yeah. Whoop. Yes. Yeah. Well, on some level, that's both the blessing and the curse of like a capitalist. I don't want to dig too deep into this. I want to focus on appliance repair, but on some level, being a business owner, this is the reality that you're going to smack into, which is if you take care of your customers really well, and your customers think that they have the best experience, That's capitalism, right? It's you have the opportunity to do the absolute fucking best for a person. And so when that person has a pain that they need to solve, or they have a thing that they want and they want to get it, the thing standing between them and their current state and the end state of that thing being in their hands, whatever is the fastest route is the first one through their brains. This is true for me, no matter how altruistic I want to try to get. The first place I'm going to go is, what is the fastest? What is the, right? I'm going to go convenience, price, quality. And somehow I'm going to manage those three things. And so is everyone else: convenience, price, quality. And you can shuffle those three things around in priority for any product, any given product. But like, even for, I thought it was hilarious, you were just saying this, appliance repair is always a bad time. I got Story Brand certified this year. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's
I'm not.
Okay, no problem. It's basically like it's a system for clarifying your message.
Okay.
And the amount of like, I can't explain what I actually do in business, right? I can tell you about it for days, but as a potential customer, how much do you want before you like tune out? And the answer is roughly one sentence. So you did extraordinarily well. You named Fred's Appliance Repair Academy. You're done, right? Hey, what do you do? I run Fred's Appliance Repair Academy. Got it. Simple enough.
When it comes to marketing and stuff like that, it's such a loaded question. I could spend 45 minutes with a client just discussing the differences of Google.
Oh, yes.
You have to, because they all think that maps and local and all that's all the same shit, and it's not. It's all different machines, you know. So
that's the reason. So like, I went and got StoryBrand certified because frankly, I'm not very good at being, what's the word? At brevity. So, right. I was doing a StoryBrand, so I was like clarifying the message of this roofer, and where we landed on what message they wanted to lead with was basically, your roof is going to break. That will suck. Let's make fixing that as painless as possible. So they just like right up front, right? Like just address the elephant right up front. You do not want to talk to me. If you're talking to me, something terrible is happening and your life now sucks, right? Like me being here in my uniform professionally trying to serve you means your life blows right now. So, the faster that you can recognize that and like sort of deal with it and then move to the next thing, it sounds like you're saying, the more open, honest, transparent you can be, the faster you're going to get to loyalty of customers, and first of all, gaining of customers and also loyalty of customers over time.
Yes, the sooner the better, because you can't expedite this. There's no way to trick the public into trusting you faster. All you can do is the opposite, right? It's the catastrophic, God forbid, you burned a house down and it's because of your negligence and it got on the news, and then you might as well just change your brand. So yeah, it's only that way. And I joke with clients, if like, because Sears is still considered the biggest servicer in the country because they're just nationwide. And I said, if Sears called me tomorrow and wanted to have me do their marketing, I don't care how much money they're spending. I can't guarantee that the results they want. Searchers intent, Google changes algorithms, they have the same challenges we all do. They just have more money to burn. Maybe.
Man, well said.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of just getting these folks to understand that this is an investment and your brand is more damaged. It's just like reviews and anything else that goes with that. All of that stuff just takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And the same with all these transitions for change. That's why I say take a breath is like my first thing, because it's not going to happen overnight, especially when I demo stuff at Fred's and how we're doing something. I know I'm overwhelming them right out of the gate, but I have to kind of like show them like the result. Here's the result. All right. So how did we get here? Here's your first thing you want to tackle. Get back to me when you're done. And that's, that's really how we try. It's all the baby step stuff. And that's usually one of the most frustrating things that I think I've had feedback wise from an owner is they wish I could just shit out the solutions faster, but I wish I did, but then you wouldn't be able to afford it.
Yeah.
Because I'd be Google or something like that at that point.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'd own my own platform.
Yeah, and then you're not talking to me at all, sadly. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So, yeah,
Right.
it's the leading them to the water. We just can't force them to drink. We just have to keep trying to lead them to the water.
Yes.
And then hopefully we get them there. And that's the baby step stuff, small stuff. Are you texting? Are you doing this?
For 2021, what's that?
Go ahead. I was going to say, how many times have you had a client like complain to you because they're not getting enough engagements on their website and they're not web chatting?
Oh my God.
What? I mean, how do you know they're not engaging with you? You're not even, it's like you have a storefront and you don't open the door because you're not web chatting. So it's just literally people driving by your building and you're like, no, this doesn't work.
I think it's worse. I mean, okay, so like I've lived this out in person, right? So we had a furniture and appliance repair. That's how furniture and appliance retail, and we did appliance repair because we sold used appliances and we fixed them. So we had a 6,000 square foot space growing up that I was in almost every day. It was a family business, right? Like I'm 8 years old. I'm doing my homework behind the counter. One of the things my dad made sure of, because my dad was the owner, right? So then my dad's the owner, which also means he's the everything else manager. And I remember him being like, I remember us putting tall things in front of the counter for a few days. And then him being like, nope, that won't work. Why? Because I have to be able to see the whole floor to know when people walk in and if I need to go help them, right? Like you can see what their behavior is, but like one of the most critical things that we have to do is go interact with the customer when they walk in. And he's like, it doesn't matter if they don't want to talk to you. The point is that you have to make sure that they understand you're available always. You are not secretly behind the counter. And if they want to talk to you, you're bothering them. You cannot make it hard. So he's like, that's what he drilled at 8 years old. He's drilling this into me. He's like, you're going to take the flyer that they don't necessarily want. And you're going to go up there and you're going to say, hi, however I can help you. I'll be sitting at the counter. Don't want to bug you. Always available. Just yell. Right?
And if we correlate that to online, that's just having that little button in the lower right-hand corner.
So the worst thing you can do is take everybody from the counter and leave the door open for customers and take everybody from the counter and put them in the back room.
Yes. So that is worse than keeping the door closed. You're 100% right.
Right. And that's happened to my dad. Like my dad has gone, oh, it's a dead day. It's a Saturday, but it's a holiday. No one is coming in today. I'm going to go in the back room. We have a super loud doorbell. I'm just going to take a 20-minute power nap. And he's had customers, right? He was just really tired that day. And they walked in, looked around, walked out. That's the end. Oh, you missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how quick it can happen.
So for 2021, I want to talk a little bit about appliance repair and specifically like the academy. How are you guys preparing for, or what adjustments have you made to make sure that the academy is relevant today and continuing into next year?
Our pivot with the academy is to focus on online training. Our ultimate goal, if I just said, give me a blank check and 100 instructors and I can what do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Our goal is to try and take our 3-week courses that we were doing in-house and help others do it at their house. Not necessarily their house, but their business. So the initial part is at least getting the knowledge stuff down. So we're creating interactive reference guides, essentially, that are based off customer complaints. And trying to just get someone up to speed to where God forbid you have to send them on the road tomorrow. We wouldn't recommend doing that, but you're going to do it, especially if you're a self-servicing dealer. If you were servicing what you sell, you got 2 options. You're either swapping the unit, which or we're fixing it. So that means, yes, I understand you only have a week experience. Get out there. So our courses aren't just about teaching you in the moment. You can go back to the course and look up something specific. Oh, I can't remember how to check a split phase dryer motor. Cool. There it is. You'll search for it right in there. That's been our focus. I don't know if we'll be able to really achieve that. Our hope is all the worst case scenario is that we're going to have less classroom time when we reopen on live classes. We're going to spend even more time tearing stuff apart, which is really the most popular part of our classes is the hands-on application. But we have to make sure that you understand what you're doing, not going to hurt yourself. So if we can try and do some of that stuff ahead of time before you come our way, we can do even more in less time. So that's been the goal, is to try and flip that. We've always had online in the background, but it's just our live classes were just selling all the time. We were running classes every month, and we just couldn't put the resources towards it. We were spending more time improving the live classes itself. So that's where we're at now. And we've got washers, specifically front, top load, and dryer, gas, and electric. So we have laundry that we can teach you those basic fundamentals on online at any time. Do it at your own pace. So
how much do you feel like moving online? I've heard this again and again. The pandemic has not changed things. It has accelerated things by and large.
I'm an Andrew Yang guy. I'm not going to get political here. Red, blue, I don't really care what the color is, to be quite honest. I just loved what Yang had to say. Yang would spell out the fact that this is, he's exactly in that camp, saying that this has only exacerbated the issues that we were already experiencing. I'm trying to think of a specific example to lean on, but it just shows that the flexibility of owners wasn't good enough. How many restaurants closed when they should have went to delivery service? That just, I couldn't wrap my brain around it, where they just kind of folded their hands and said, no, Uber and DoorDash need to fix this system and give us more of a cut and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, guys, that's their app. Like, you can't tell these folks what to do. Why don't you just do your own? You could go to Google My Business, set up a little link. There's all these free softwares where you could set up a delivery schedule, set up your own menu, take your own goddamn pictures and post it and get done. You're done. You're safe now. You could do that. All could have been done in April. Yet businesses are still today haven't taken those steps, and they're still going, oh, someone needs to bail us out. No, guys, like, you got to start adapting, and they're not doing, and that's all that same stuff. I still was always surprised pre-COVID that people weren't doing delivery more.
Yeah.
I just never could wrap my head around that, except for the fact that I understood the people in charge of those specific businesses like the model, that I have to think about how we're going to engage these new streams of revenue. I'd rather just sit back and just let how it currently works. I respect that, but you can't be upset now because you chose to sit back. And that's where, I firmly believe that this just accelerated stuff for sure.
I said a few things. I actually said this about 10 minutes ago in our conversation, but I was like, look, the benefit of capitalism is that you get the opportunity to serve anyone you want, basically in any way you want, as long as you can convince them that it's worth it. And that freedom comes with equal risk, which is, if you are ever not the best way, then you don't get picked. Like, your tribe has shockingly less loyalty than you think they do.
100%. Again, COVID proved that. It's not even a debate. Why are all these restaurants closed? They're all local people. You probably knew them. How many times you go there to eat? Oh, you can't afford it. That's haha. So yeah, it's stuff like that. It's just it's a shame, but at the same time, it seems to be a cycle. These things seem to always keep coming around. It's just, is it a pandemic that causes it? Is it mismanagement at the Treasury? Or stock market, stuff like that. So
inevitably, the system that we live and die on currently, this is the state of things as we know it, and it has been the state of things. This is both how we got here and so far where we have to go, which is, hey, we've all agreed to live under a structure where we get nearly infinite opportunity on the way up and a total free fall on the way down. And it's totally up to you. Now, I would argue this has also revealed that this statement that I just made is not always true, and there's a lot more nuance to that. But the basic idea is supposed to be infinite up, total free fall down, right? If you screw this up, you're dead and you go out of business, and that's all there is. And we're watching that. We're literally watching, like, oh, you picked up Uber Eats, or you picked up DoorDash, or you pick up whatever that's like delivering your food. Cool. I'm going to continue ordering from you. oh, I have to show up and you have a dining room open and that's fuck you. Like, I'm not even going to bother.
You or your menu's wrong in these apps. That
Yeah.
always drove me nuts too. How do you not? Yeah, I know I'm preaching to the choir with this stuff, but like, yeah, that kind of stuff just drives me nuts. Where it's just like, well, yeah, no wonder you're closing. Yeah, your menu is inaccurate. The pricing's not right. There's all these reasons for me not to buy from you. You're giving me
Yes.
all these opportunities to leave.
Yes. You're giving me so many. Oh man, that's so good. You're giving me so many opportunities to leave. Oh, I'm going to quote, you're going to get a little dash in your name after that one. um, so if you're, I'm sorry, refocusing again on I said this to you before we started recording, but I was like, man, we could probably have this conversation all day.
Well, and I get on tangents, so I don't mind you constantly bringing us back to center.
No problem. So you guys are focusing on that. I just mentioned this capitalism thing. The whole point of me saying that is to basically ask you this question. This is true I'm asking this for you, and I'm also asking it for how you're training business owners. Does the shift to online present a moment where you've effectively opened the room to 400% more competition than you had?
As far as competition as a service company or as a educator?
As a service company.
No.
Simple enough. All right.
The reason I say no so casually like that is because we've trained our own competition at the academy in our own service market. The guys that literally can take money out of my pocket, I've trained their techs.
It just doesn't matter.
There's three actually in our Cleveland market. All of them have sent techs to our academy. They've heard of our pitches and how we operate, how we run. I haven't seen them take market share from us though. But sorry guys if you're watching. but seriously though, that's just what's the worst case scenario that we're gonna do is I'm gonna have more better qualified techs working in the marketplace, and we need it. It's not a matter of that I can get picky and just worry about ourselves. There's not enough of us. If we lose 2 techs, we're in tough. Every company you talk to that would lose a couple field techs, it's a tough battle at that point, especially with COVID just randomly saying, hey, 2 weeks now, you're going to lose this tech. So It's just, you get this, we need as many as we can get. Once we get to a point where there's techs on a tree that I can just go to a farm and pick them off, okay, maybe we'll start bringing this in-house and we're not going to train people anymore. But we got a few decades to go, I think, before we're at that point. So yeah, I encourage more and more companies to open up because you're going to learn. That's the benefit when you train people is as a teacher, you still learn. You're going to go, why the hell are you doing it that way? And they explain it to you and you're like, that's actually better than our way. We're taking that from you. Sorry. And I'm going to start training everybody else to do the same thing.
Right. Both the blessing and the curse of our training is that we're learning from you, which means we're going to teach you, but also we're going to disseminate what you just said across everything else.
Yeah, but it's an open thing. Like we say right out of the gate, like we're here to learn. We're here to share. The difference between us is we're going to go back to those little things. That's what's going to separate the customer picking you versus me. Are you going to take the time to have the procedures in place to communicate by text and have the web chat, all that? You're not going to do that. All right. Yeah, I'll train you all day.
Something that we have done at More Leads Online. So you focus heavily on Appliance Repair Academy. You also, frankly, have your own appliance repair company. Yes, confirm. Yep. And also you run a marketing company that specializes obviously in this. You mentioned, obviously, you're willing to go wider in the home and trade services, similar to us. I have a similar statement about what you just said, which is technically aren't you and I competing? And I would say technically yes, and there's no freaking chance that we can serve everyone who needs our support because they're not even done growing, right? Like we need to make 100% more techs. So,
that is exactly why Fluid Services exists. I was teaching. We kept hearing horror stories about how people are running their businesses. We'd have owners come and take the class because some of them would buy a company and they're like, I just need to have a kind of an idea what the hell these guys are talking about. Others, I'm just starting my own, but whatever. Every single one of those owners would open up our eyes to all these challenges that they're having. And it's like, well, how's our academy going to get more students? We can't get more. So most of our students come from people that are already hired. We don't tend to get general public people. It's not a sexy job. People aren't graduating from high school and going on Instagram going, yo, man, I'm going to be going to fix washers. Like that's just it's not happening, you know? So the general public isn't interested in our career, and they're not interested in a lot of trades. So it's not just us, obviously. So but once they come through the ropes of an established company, that's where we're seeing a lot of the students for us. And these established companies, we want to help them run better, because you're going to run better. Guess what it means? You're going to have to hire more techs, and then that means more work for us. So I say that right out front. When you're working with Fluid, you're basically just giving us the money so we can invest in better tools, so you guys can make more money, so you can send me more techs.
Yeah, it's like an altruistic flywheel. Like, that makes a ton of sense to me. I think I understand it in what you just said, but something that we did as More Leads Online. So we're like, oh, we're this marketing company. We want to specialize in the home and trades. I often make this joke. I'm like, oh, marketing companies are actually operations in disguise. And we just said this earlier, where it's like, I can tell you on your website if you have traffic that you should be engaging, but you're not, because you told me I couldn't put live chat on your site. And like, that's a real conversation. I asked a dozen people at the beginning of 2020, can I put live chat on your site? I spent 6 months researching the absolute best, easiest system. I found one where a person could live chat on the site and it would send a text, a real text, not like an app, an actual text. And the person could text back. And they were like, nah, we don't want to deal with it. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, like what was I going to say? I'm not going to fight the business owner, right?
I actually casually joke with most people when they tell me no to stuff and just say, hey, that's cool. You're just giving me a scapegoat when you come to me and say you're not getting enough work. Because I'm going to say, have you done this yet? Oh, you haven't? Great. Then let me know when this is done and we'll move to the next task. You know, so that it's sad that it has to get to that point. But yeah, I don't know especially when you were willing to conform it to make it work for a technician lifestyle, because a lot of owners are out on the road, so they are afraid of adding additional applications for them to manage. And you're going to spoon feed them by text, and they still said no.
I get it. So we partnered with this company called Garage Starts, and they're out of Upper Minnesota. And the whole idea for Garage Starts is that they really focus on helping a company scale from 0 to 3 million. And that's their specialty, is we'll take you from 0 to 3 million. And that's my career specialty too. Like, I've historically been a consultant or a fixer, or built my own businesses. And yeah, I've sort of historically capped out around that 3 million mark, where once you get to that point, like, I really need to bring in like a bigger, stronger team to sort of grow after that. But I can kind of like wrestle with force up to 3 million totally by myself. As long as other people will like do their jobs. And so we said, okay, well, what we're going to do, because we have the opportunity all the time, right? Who are you going to go partner with? And we were like, oh, we could go partner with Bright Local, or we could go partner with our hosting company, or we could go partner with another web design agency, or we could go partner with, and we said, we're going to go partner with a business consulting company. We're going to go partner with a 0 to 3 million specialty, owner focused, coaching, consulting, a little bit of that boots on the ground, right? And we said, that is what we're going to go and make sure that we have next, is we're going to push this owner conversation out of our hands, and we're going to hand this over to this consulting company who specializes in this. And that's the pairing that we think is the most incredibly useful to our customers. And so that was going to be my question to you, is you've built a marketing company sort of as that next piece that you said, my customers desperately need something else besides the academy. They need this marketing company too. And so where else do you think customers, that between you and I, where can we take a next step and go, this is the most useful thing for business owners? So anyone listening to this podcast would say, it would be great to hire those guys as marketing agents, or it would be great to hire those guys to send my text to the Fred's Appliance Repair Academy. If you were going to recommend one other potential partner, who would you recommend them to?
Another partner. I guess it depends on the overall question. So if it's a matter of, I just want someone to generally help us, I guess my thing with me is I always lean on software. It's how I'm able to do a lot for little labor, is because of the tools. And I hate to give somebody a shout out that doesn't need it, but Google, specifically Gmail. That's probably when I talk to a company. Okay, let me back up. You're a student at our academy and you're like, I want to start my own business. My first comment is don't. That's my first comment, is don't do it, because I usually already know at that time when they ask me how long they've been doing this, and you've been doing it for 2 weeks. Don't. I'm sure you could do it. I'm sure it will go fantastic. You need time. You need to learn how to fix stuff first. Fred, our founder, Adam's dad, who's the primary owner, he didn't start. He started his own business when he was a kid with his brother, but I mean, he went to Sears, worked there for like a decade. Then that's when Fred's really started. And a lot of those procedures that he learned at Sears carried over to us, and ultimately educated us when we were younger, that, hey, Sears, they ship parts direct to their customers. We should probably consider doing something like that. And, and we're one of the few companies that still does it, where most companies are shipping to a centralized hub and then they distribute themselves, which, why would I do that? UPS was way better at that than me. So, it was that kind of stuff. And that all came from him taking the time to learn from a big company and getting and perfecting something, just being really good at it. Fred is a great leader, but he is a technician. That's where his skill set was always his best. He never wanted to do the technology stuff. He knew he needed it, but it wasn't his forte. He'd learn it, dabble in it, but then that's where his son Adam and myself, we took that stuff on and helped him complete that side of it. So going back to your question, it's a matter of just telling people to focus on that specific trade until your leadership that you're working for is just not, you can clearly see it. And I should, at that point, it's not something you need to ask somebody's opinion on. It's going to be, man, I could probably, we're not texting our customers. We're not getting back to them. We're not following through. There's just all these procedural issues. That's a leadership problem. So that's where there could be an opportunity. And maybe it's you do it internally instead of opening up a new company. All that stuff just varies. So my short answer is just focus on a specific thing and not even try and get into to owning your own business. It's such a monumental task that most people just don't understand what it's going to take. Do you know HR? Do you know what that takes, and payroll and insurance? Have you ever done an insurance claim before? No. Okay, let's back up. Let's work for somebody small. Learn about those challenges. The reason I'm confident in starting my own business with Fluid, branching off from the academy, is because I worked at Fred's service at a young age, and I learned and I saw damage claims, insurance stuff, payroll issues, all these challenges that are just like you when you were working at your parent. We were exposed to that stuff. We don't get taught that stuff in school. There's no classes for any of this shit.
Right.
So it's experience.
Yeah,
and that's really, yeah, that's my primary thing. Get your feet, get so bored with the current path you're on to want to go do something else. And then they're much more likely to be successful, because you're gonna be hungry, you're gonna have focus, and you're not gonna get bogged down with some of these other things. Fred, wherever he had to learn, he didn't have to at least know how to fix a washing machine. He knew that part. That part, I'll tell you on the phone, wherever I got to do it. But it was then like, all right, here's this situation. We damaged this person's floor. How do we handle this? Do we want to go to the insurance company? Do we want to try and pay out of pocket? So like, it's all that stuff nobody sees until it actually starts to hit them. So I just always encourage not to go that route. I think I answered your question. See, I go in tangents. So no,
I caught at least 3 things I'm going to quote. Like, we always turn our, we follow the Gary Vaynerchuk model of content production, which is to do something like this. It's a huge piece of content. There's so much value here. Go make sure that I get someone who every couple of sentences out of their mouth, I'm basically going to be able to write it down and be like, we could probably just do this. And like, that's going to be good. So like, you're just, but you basically, like, you just speak in value, right? Like, I'm just pulling it out of you left and right. And then I'm going to go take that and I'm going to put it all over the place. Like, I'm going to transcribe this and it's going to go as a blog post on my website. I'm going to chop this up into a bunch of clips. Those are all going to go out on social. Like, and so basically you just handed me fodder for weeks though. Like, every time you go on a tangent, I'm like, that was 4 quotes. Like, those are solid. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to stick that in our documentation somewhere, and I'm going to post it on Instagram. I'm
a huge fan of Gary Vee as well. He's very, we speak the same language. When I would first hear him speak, I'm like, it's like he's been in my meetings. It's like, gee, yeah, his value approach, man, it's something very hard for businesses to understand. Is that you sometimes going to have to give shit away for free. It's not a matter of, you have to educate. How else is anyone going to know that you bring value unless you start to show it?
One of the things that I've made a stand on. So we have 2 more. I have another question. I want to focus specifically on marketing. And then I have another section that we've added since you've been here last, which I call quick fire questions. And so one of the things that I did at More Leads Online is I looked at everything that marketing companies were doing on the whole. And I said, what can I do that's different, that's incredibly valuable to my customers, really focusing on the customer themselves? And I said, I know marketing, and so I could teach them marketing. And I thought about that for a long time, and I looked at a lot of other marketing companies and went, every marketing company teaches you about marketing. I want to teach my customers I want to get them experts to help them run their own companies better. Not by learning about marketing, but by learning about business, the realities of business today, how they need to adjust for things, how to treat customers, little things like the idea of texting. I think this is a true value that I can bring. And like, it's going to be an expense to me. I'm not going to necessarily see a direct return on this, but I think it's the most valuable thing I can provide as an educational thing. And so that idea of what you just said and our decision to do this was like, we do need to teach, we do need to bring that value. We have to be doing that. On the flip side, let's focus really. Yeah.
Just going to say real quick that, most of my conversations with clients, even if it is a marketing conversation, it always pivots right into operations, because sadly, most of their questions are derivative from that. So yeah, you're sniffing in the right area, I believe. That's most of my conversations. I barely talk about the actual marketing services that they're hiring me for.
So from exactly what I just said and what you just said, you run this marketing business. You found that was this absolute need. How have you seen the needs of business owners change when it comes to marketing because of all this stuff that we're dealing with? Basically, like, what has changed about their website? What has changed about their local SEO? Should they swap ad platforms? We had a lot of conversation around, like, should I be switching to Facebook instead of Google paid search? Should we be doing Google local service ads? Which my answer is every single time, absolutely yes. How have you seen those things or needs accelerate, change, whatever, from 2019 to today?
I haven't seen a ton of change. And I think that goes back to the fact that most of my clients, when they hire me, they set it and forget it, And we do. I'm constantly looking at it myself and making determinations. But we tend to just, my approach is more of like, if we're doing it at Fred's, they almost always want to say yes to it, which is fair because that means somebody is actually actively doing it. So, for example, we rolled out on the websites this year Google Address Autocomplete. So when you're filling out an address on a web form, anytime a web form had an address, it's going to ping Google, and we absorb that cost as part of our monthly fees. We didn't raise pricing, and I just rolled it out. It wasn't a matter of just saying, "Hey, do you want this?" It was like, "Hey, we're using this as Fred's. It's making life way easier. I just put it on yours. Let me know if you have any questions." And the clients love it. At least they're not complaining. So that's been my approach. And I even do that with online chat if I'm doing their website now. I put it on there. I even log in as them, set up all the settings for them, spoon feed it. Very similar to what you mentioned when you were talking about the texting situation from a web chat. Yeah. Whatever it takes for them to start using it. I'm trying to be like, here it is. It's free. You don't, unless you're ready to start using it, then you're gonna have to start doing some payment, but it's all here. All you got to do is when you're in the mood.
Right. Yeah. That's a fantastic answer. What has changed Nothing has changed. You should be doing the same crap you should have been doing this whole time. None of the platforms have made hilarious updates. The market demand, the customer demand, and the way that we go about demanding things has not shifted that much. What we are demanding is still your service. The only real thing that has changed is how convenient are you? How honest are you?
There you go. That's a good point. Yeah, the consumer's behavior has changed. Changed in a way that, as we were talking earlier, that we already kind of were seeing. It was a small percentage because you didn't have to figure out if your grocery store could deliver or not. It was only if you wanted them to. Now it's like, oh my God, I could die if I go to my grocery store. I definitely would prefer if they deliver. So now all of a sudden you got folks at any age, any technical skill set trying to figure these things out. So just, yeah, it's the consumer behavior that's changed. I'd agree with that for sure.
The one question I would ask based on that, and then I'm going to move to quick fire questions, is I know I keep telling stories as a representation of context, but we grocery shop at Aldi mostly, and that's how I grew up. Aldi has moved to this service that allows you to, they have internal shoppers for you, and you can set that up, and then they'll give you like a pickup time. You drive in, you park in the pickup spot in the parking lot. You get a text, right, that says your groceries are ready. You send them a text that says, it's an auto response thing. It's not like you have to customize anything. You just click some buttons. This is the color of my car. I'm in spot number 3, and I'm ready. I'm here, right? And they walk out. You open up the hatch of your car, either right then before they walk out, or like if you have an auto button or whatever. They load your groceries into the car, close the hatch, and walk off. I will never go back.
Yeah. Why would you go? Why would you do the work of the grocery store? Why would you go? Like, that'd be like going to Amazon and picking out and procuring your own shit. Like, hey, got to go down to aisle 706. It's like that makes no damn sense, right? Yeah, I'm with you. That's the other thing too, where I'm just still so confused. Where I'm like, why is no grocery store like converted to the Amazon model at this point? Heinen's, Giant Eagle, Aldi's, they're all still, you still can come in and DIY, but we haven't like taken half the store and say, let's try and figure this shit out so we can roll out groceries ourselves.
Right.
Haven't done it. I guess,
Apparently Aldi has stepped one step into this. And so like they are doing what I just explained, which is I don't have to do my own shop. I just have place an order, show up, get the fulfillment, done. Target actually, so I think my wife Samantha is like a beta user or something like that, so she got this early, but they have where you can locally to us, because we have a Target about 10 minutes away, she can place an order, and I think it's a Target employee has that order at our door in like 2 hours. Oh my God. We said the same thing. We're like, we'll never be in Target ever again. We'll never shop inside of Aldi ever again. Turn it into purely a warehouse. I don't want any of the rest of it. Drop my groceries in my car. The end.
85% of it should be a warehouse. 15% of it should be your display area.
Yeah.
So if you want that window shop, because I completely get there's people that like to shop. I'm not one of those folks, but I know I get it. The Black Friday, I like to just go out and look at the new things, and stores have to adjust for that. Put your best. What was it, Dwight Schrute? Put your money beats up front. With the prime beats up on the front of the street. That's, we're still going in the grocery store. You get to see the money beats, and you get to see the horrible, ridiculous stuff that somebody picked up, put in their shopping cart, went outside, didn't decide to buy it, brought it back in, put it back on the shelf. Like, you're involved in all of that chaos with it.
Absolutely. For home service guys, what are the things that are the stuff that we're talking about that won't ever go back? Like, this is the new bar. This is no longer an option. This is the new bar, whether you will admit that or not. Live chat is no longer cool. It is mandatory.
I feel like that was the case before COVID. I think the thing that COVID changed specifically is delivered to the door of a customer's house is something you have to factor in no matter what your business model is. Whether it's been a restaurant, you built your whole restaurant because you wanted to be on that corner with this many tables. You have to think about, what do I need to do to get to that front door, even if it's not my primary business model, just getting to that. So maybe it's like, I make a special spice with my steaks. I'm going to sell that shit and make sure it gets to the front door. So they remember me when they're tired of making their own steaks, something like that. So it's that, I think, is where we're not going back. Everyone's going to have some type of what can I bring to their door that I sell or that my service is.
Excellent. All right. This is it. I'm wrapping up. Quick fire questions, and then we'll close out on where people can find you. Quick fire questions is almost exclusively yes or no questions. So you're going to see me be like, oh, really? A lot, but we're not going to dive in. Some of these things I think you've already answered, but I'm just going to run down the questions, all the same questions every single time. Quick answers. Techs schedule themselves or use dispatch? Job scheduling software you use or recommend? Telling.
I would need more information to recommend you one. That's the problem.
That makes sense.
There are different pros and cons to each one.
Do you like yours?
NA. There's always room for improvement.
Yeah. Do you allow customers to leave voicemails?
No.
I'm skipping my next question, which is what's the required callback time from a voicemail? How often do you book a job from a voicemail callback was my next question, also not relevant. Do you allow customers...
They'll get an automated response that's going to tell them to come to the website. And
Nice.
leave a message or chat or text. And then, yes, they'll get it as soon as somebody is able to get it back to them. So,
do you allow people to submit contact forms?
Yes.
Do you text your customers, yes or no?
Yes.
Do you collect customer emails?
Yes.
Do you use those emails?
Yes and no. Yes in operational stuff. No, not really in marketing. But that's because we're an appliance repair.
Sure. Best platform to spend $1. Sorry, let me specify even deeper. As a service company, what is the best platform you could spend $1 on marketing right now?
To accomplish something right now, Google Guaranteed would probably be where I'd point most field companies to go.
We just took on Google LSA's guaranteed ads a couple months ago, and we're like, gotta have it. Older or younger customers more loyal over time?
I'm going to guess because I don't know. Younger.
Okay. Ask every... Yeah, it's... No, good. It's a guess. Ask every customer for an honest review, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
What is the one thing to remember? And maybe you don't experience this as much, but it sounds like you did. I heard you. It sounds like you have a few like multi-unit owners, real estate people. So what's the number one thing to remember when working the first time for a multi-customer owner? So like a general contractor, a multi-unit retail, real estate owner. What would be the one thing you would say, guys, you've got to remember this?
If you treat them like any other customer, it should work okay, as long as you're treating your customers correctly. So that's, the thing with multiple is just making sure you're going to the right place at the right time. So that it's just making sure your communication's on point. Regular customers tend to want to chit chat more than somebody who owns stuff. They're usually busy. They got stuff to own and to maintain. So the idea behind that is just be as prompt as you are with the regulars, and they'll be just as happy. They'll be happier because they'll appreciate it more.
What are the top 3 things you wish every customer knew? And I mean specifically homeowners.
Top 3 things every customer knew: how to research, how to balance a checkbook, and how our economy works. If all three of those things we had a decent idea, we probably wouldn't have to educate as much.
I can see how those 3 things would play back into our conversation. What are the top 3 books that you would recommend for trade service business leaders, specifically the owners and leaders of these companies?
I read mostly on the internet now. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I tend to consume most of my content online. So I would recommend following 3 people on Twitter that you really like, because those people are going to drop knowledge all the time. I'll just pick out one that most people can follow just because he likes it anyway, is Elon Musk. That guy is so active on Twitter for a billionaire, it kind of blows my mind a little bit because I know how busy he is, yet he will comment and post on such random scientific stuff. It's great because it's kind of neat to know what he's doing. So if there's 3 people that are on Twitter that you like, I'm on Twitter and I'm sure you are, follow them. They tend to drop better news than you'll ever get in a book because it's unfiltered. It may not be accurate, but it's unfiltered, authentic, and it's engaging, and there's a chance that they'll talk back to you. And I think that's way more powerful than a book. Now, you may end up liking one of those people, then read their books.
Right. That's I would say it's the most interesting answer to that I've ever gotten. And also, I think probably the most actionable. Following somebody on Twitter is so much easier than reading their book. I personally... Right. Fantastic answer. I'm not going to dive into it on my own thoughts on it because I know I would go on another 10-minute tangent. Who do you think, if you don't mind, who would you nominate to hear from on this podcast next? Who should I go try and say, will you please tell us all some things? Wow. Yeah. I do think, well, no, not so much more realistic as much as I think that Gary Vaynerchuk would be a fantastic guest. And I think all the marketing conversation that he talks about, although I generally tend to pay attention more to what he does rather than what he says. Specifically, I guess what I'm looking for is another home service or trade service leader. Somebody who has really personal experience with the types of companies that we're dealing with and that the people who are listening are dealing with.
I'd like you to have either Steve Scheinkopf. I don't know him personally. I'll send you the contact info. He is the blogging guy, marketing manager at Yale Appliance in Boston. They're like I was mentioning earlier, out of all the blogs in our industry, they're one of the few that I actually actively read because most of it is, it's just not that valuable. But they'll share what they sold last year, percentages and everything. Like, so you get an idea of like what's selling. One of the recent ones that I really liked, they just did a piece of content. I want to get the name right. Come on, it can't be that old. Top 10 appliances people are not buying. Which I went into it kind of like guessing like what are they going to be, and I wasn't right on all of them. So it's well worth the read. So YaleAppliance.com. I'll give them a special shout out. They've been extremely helpful with us at Fred's Service. They've been very open and transparent to answering us when we have questions because they are bigger. So they do self-servicing as well. So that's the other. There's a couple areas that they don't gamble in that we're not dabbling in. So that's been very helpful and eye-opening for us. So yeah, you should definitely see if I have a very strong hunch he'll say yes.
That would be so awesome. And the amount of like obvious respect for you have only makes me more excited to get a potential conversation. We're rolling out. We might have to split this one into 2 episodes. I don't know. Closing and plugs. Basically, like what if people want to know more about you, what you do, they want to know more about the Academy, where do they go?
The best place to go for the Academy is academy.fredsappliance.com, or you can go to academy.appliance. Either place will take you to the same location. There you can learn about our online classes. You can also learn when we will be bringing back our in-person classes, which we hope to do at sometime summer of 2021 is where it's kind of tentative at this point. And you can also find us at fluid.services. My calendar is live on there. I'm probably going to regret saying that. But you can set a special time to talk to me at any time, and we can have just the same kind of conversation that you and I are having right now.
I'm just going to schedule myself on there every couple of weeks from now on.
I'm cool. We could definitely do this again. I'm always down.
So awesome. Alex, it has been an incredible conversation. The person who does our production is going to cry because they're going to be like, you want me to pull how many clips from that episode?
It's content, baby. That's what Gary Vee would say.
Right. Just so much so many like things that you said that I was like, well, I gotta have that one, gotta have that one, gotta have that one, gotta teach that one, gonna put that in an email. That was awesome. Like, absolutely dropping, just like golden nuggets everywhere. So,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you taking the time to do the clips. It's been on my to-do list to send content out, but I'm, busy like most owners. So, so I appreciate you guys doing this and taking the time and sharing this stuff. Two birds with one stone for me.
That's right. So much fun. And plus, I mean, like, it just gives me an excuse to have these hour-long conversations with guys like you. All right. I'm going to shut it down. Thank you so much, everyone who is listening. We'll catch you next time.